couple of like videos, messages, or whatever that came up that made me think of something that is going on these days with our change in the levels of microwave radiation. So one of the messages was basically about bad law officials bullying someone, or I could just probably change that to like, I don't know, uninformed, misinformed, not informed officials that may be like observing people that are having, like emotions or whatever, or like aggression and things like that. And then I saw another video that came up that talked about how thyroid irregularities will mimic mental illness. And I had that happen when I started taking metformin, which helped me get a lot better. And I had been on a high dose of thyroid pills, which actually only got me sicker over the years and left me in a place where I was very, very ill. But when I started taking the metformin and my thyroid cleared out of the garbage that was causing it to be irregular, I was testing an extremely low number, which means you have an extremely high amount of thyroid in your system, like 0.0045. It was horrible. It was like pure hell. Not only was I freaking out, I wasn't on any drugs, but I certainly would have acted or seemed like I was on them. And then it was like hell in the fact that I was having tons of restless leg syndrome. I had to start taking gabapentin then for that. And it's really horrible when it comes to your body temperature. And you'll feel too cold while you're having sweats, and too hot. It's you're too cold, you're too hot at the same time because your body temperature is off, and it's very uncomfortable. And it just causes more irritation and aggression. And so, there's somebody that walks by here a lot that he'll, yell and scream. And, I feel like he's got some other issues or voices tormenting him. But the thing of it is that, they knew in Russia, in Chernobyl, after that radioactive spill, and even with still going on in the area, they've known that it caused thyroid goiters. Usually the goiter happens when you've got too much thyroid in your system, which would test at a 0.00 something sort of a level of a very low number would be the reading that they would get. And so they've known this in advance, that radiation very much affects the thyroid gland, which very much regulates about every system in your body, but definitely in a large part affects your emotions, emotional responses, those emotional brain chemicals or whatever. So, when it first rolled out, I felt I had to stop taking them. They were causing me to faint and stuff. It got to the point they were causing me to faint, and I got all the way better when the metformin cleared out the fibrous growths that had accumulated on my organs over the years. And thyroid pills failed to help the situation. Even if it was test normal, I was still feeling extremely sick. And that can cause also emotional issues because you're not well and there's nothing they can do to help it or will do to help it or whatever. So it's something that law officials should know about if, in fact, and I don't know why it wouldn't be a thing, if in fact our increased microwave radiation is in fact affecting people's thyroids and their emotional responses, making people possibly seem like they're on drugs when they're not, causing people to have emotional responses, be overly emotional, be aggressive sounding, rather than putting that on the person, bullying them, just straight up saying, oh, those people are just mentally ill or on drugs, because that's what they say every time. That's what they know. That's what they've been taught to believe. That's what our society's been taught to believe. Misinformation we've come to know. But possibly, I feel in some senses it should be, especially if there's there's a high amount of thyroid disease in this town anyways, due to it being a mining town and having toxicity and environmental toxins and whatnot, but heavy metals, things like that. So it probably should be something that should be taken into consideration, that in fact some of these behaviors could very well be to thyroid irregularities. And I don't know why, when they increased these microwave radiation levels to such an extreme amount suddenly and all at once, why they would seem to think that it wouldn't actually affect people's thyroids, because I feel like it really, really would, which again would like change people's behaviors. It changes the behaviors of bugs and birds. So, I just feel like it would be a smart thing to take into consideration and for people to be educated about, especially people that are officers and are having to deal with situations where they have to consider somebody's emotional response, and they, probably should take into account the fact that it might be something very medical, rather than just like assuming that somebody is mentally ill or on drugs, because it might not be the case. It might just be that their thyroid is off, and it might just be that our increased microwave radiation has changed people's thyroid chemistries. It would be a scientifically valid theory for sure, historically proven by the stuff that happened in Russia also.
I kind of wanted to add that out because I know there's different types of radiation. I'm very well aware of that. There's natural radiation, and there are significant correlations concerning even the map of Lyme disease and the natural radon map. It's very similar. It's interesting. You kind of wonder if it wards off certain bugs or like whatever, clears, germs from them. I don't know. But it is interesting. It was something I noticed right away when I was looking into radon therapy as well as Lyme disease and looking at the maps. So no, I do realize that there are different types of radiation, but most definitely, and I could look into the science of it more concerning the similarities or differences between nuclear power plant radiation, or the breakdown of uranium, which is basically the same thing as natural radon, and microwave radiation created from cell phone towers. But yeah, I really think I've got something here like that's pretty valid.